Hey all adventurers, welcome to recap of session number 9 of Iron Kingdom's All Worlds stage. So I tend to give a bit of an update during these videos, so why stop now? I would have finished and edited the Buffy review. Sadly, as you can hear, my voice is a bit shot, and I lost my voice for a couple of days this week, and I was bedridden on Monday and Tuesday, so I was not able to do anything. However, both my wife and my girlfriend both think that I have a very sexy voice. Also, a couple of the teachers at the school, but they're old and they're weird. So I ran last night's session not really knowing what to do. I had the boss fight planned out, but I didn't know how I was gonna get there. The players told me they wanted to attack the bank, and well, I had a couple of ideas, but they did something completely different from what I had envisioned that they would do. So the session begins. They decide we want to get a new alchemist. Forgot to start the stopwatch. They decided we want to get a new alchemist. Excuse me, because Jedediah is having a lot of work thrown on him, so let's find him somebody that can help him out. So they start pitter-pattering what they can do. They remember that they do have a bank account in the bank. They're gonna go check their funds at the bank because their boss deposits there from time to time. Also, that they wanted to scout the bank, see how it looked from the inside and all that stuff. However, they were not let at the bank. Apparently there's a list and they are excluded from the list. But they're like, wait, we have a bank account, so this is against the law. They contact Craster, their boss, and he sends them a letter saying, well, since you had that altercation with Gil Goldenrod, I am not going to, I have been asked to I have been asked to, what's the word? I have been asked, anytime that you need to access the bank, you have to go through me, so you have to send me a letter every time. So they've been sending letters back and forth. Sterling asks him if she can go with him at the very least. He sends her a letter that just says a really big no in there. So they're like, oh, crud. During the days that they were waiting for the response letters, they actually roll streetwise to check if there are any new alchemists in town. They find one, apparently one that came in a couple of days ago in game, and they find her at a tavern working, making beer for the barkeeper, or tavern keeper, the manager of the tavern. Really tall woman, clad in very tight leather, black leather. Bit of a ditz, but very smart for what she does. They try to convince her to go with them. They tell her that they have, a lot of notes that she could look at it. She could learn a lot from that. And she's like, oh, she's intrigued, and she agrees to it. But first, she needs to get funding for some research she's doing. And they're like, oh, how much? And she's like, I need 300 gold crowns. I'm gonna go to the train station. They never asked her what she was gonna do at the train station, which is the funny part. And they're like, well, you're leaving town? And she's like, no, I'm not leaving town. I'm gonna go to the train station. And they're like, okay. And she's like, meet me at the train station in an hour. They're like, crap. Then they scatter to make 300 gold crowns. They had like 200 and 220. Yeah, they had 220. They needed 80. They got like 50 from some jobs they hadn't collected yet, from the brothel, who pays them regularly. Miss Coxwood actually took a loan from the Dwarven Enclave. We had a discussion about how Enclave is spelled. It's with an E. It's not with an O or an A, as we found out. It's with an E for everyone. Anyways, they go to the train station and they realize that she's all the Juniper. Juniper, the alchemist. She's all dressed in black with a black trench coat. She painted her face green, and she has like these circular things on her eyes, apparently to protect her eyesight. Cause she starts throwing canisters of smoke at the train station on the train, and she tells them cover me. And she goes inside, and they're like, oh crap, and then they're like, oh. This is probably the woman that took the all the golden slabs. Ah, we're gonna kill her once she gets out. They fight against the guards. They meet up with the guard from the first session. They try not to harm him, and all the while the dwarf is saying, "Oh, Bob, I'm sorry. I just Bob, please leave." And the guard is confused. He doesn't recognize the dwarf, but the dwarf recognized him. Juniper the alchemist runs out. It was a bit of a tough fight because one of the guards had a mechanica baton, and when he hit Miss Sterling, the warcaster, he turned off her armor, and she's like crud. And without her armor, she's a bit of a sitting duck, and she doesn't have her overshield, which usually is what you want to have when you're a warcaster. You have your warcaster armor. So they fall back. And once they leave, she tells them, "Oh, I was looking for these," and she takes out a couple of golden planks, and they're like, "Oh, we knew it." And then they start questioning her. Where were you on this, and this day? And she's like, really up north? And they're like, is she lying? They're gonna roll, to detect whether she's lying or not. But I'm like, well, Sterling has Truth Reader, which lets her know whenever anybody's lying. It doesn't tell you what the truth is, but it tells you whether or not they're lying, and she was not lying, so she was not there. They go back to their base. They call for the fence loaner. That's the name of the fence. To take the golden planks so he could sell them, and he tells them, well, these are the same planks that they follow the same serial number as the first one you gave me. And they're like, really? And they ask Juniper, who did you steal this from? And she's like, oh, apparently they were from the bank, and they were leaving. And they're like, oh, they were from the bank, excellent. So the bank is already taking some hits. So apparently the people, the four horsemen, were the ones that stole the golden planks, something that I thought they would have discovered by now, but it was them. I'm surprised that it took them almost 10 sessions to realize that it was the four horsemen that took the golden planks, because they weren't in town yet, but they hadn't made themselves known yet. They actually go to Gumshoe, who's working as a guard for a couple of kids in the. He's working as a security guard at the local school, at the local elementary school. They asked him about the golden planks, and he tells them, well, yeah, I think it was the four horsemen. Maybe they came in unannounced, stole those golden planks and golden slabs, and they sold them to make money, and that's how they got a lot of power so quickly in the town. They're like, oh, okay. After that, what happened? Oh man, because I was so sleepy yesterday. I was sleepy and sick, and I still ran the game like this. It's horrible. They a bit of a funny moment happened because Jedediah, their alchemist, hates Juniper because she's undermining him and telling him that his notes are bad, and he hates her because of that, and her notes are bad. So they're trying to create peace between them. Cox's player told me that he loved that bit of the game. It was a bit of a comedy. What was that called? I forget the names. Again, I'm so sick. I'm forgetting. But the thing is that he told me he liked it. It was like watching a comedy show, a sitcom. There we go. That's the word. It was like watching a sitcom. He really enjoyed how they interacted. He tried to mess with them, but then they found a middle ground. Because the dwarf was trying to force them to work together, but they despised the dwarf so much that they ended up working together just to annoy the dwarf. So they found some common ground in a common enemy. Not real enemy because they still work together, but you know what I mean. So they're getting along, but it's not quite there yet. Then after that, and we actually spent like a good hour on that whole Jedediah and Juniper subplot. They're both, their name starts with a J. That was completely unplanned. Most of the freaking session was unplanned. I wanted them to hit the train station again. I didn't want them to hit the train station again, but if they wanted to make some money on the side, I was gonna offer the train station again. So I had thought about that, but everything else was made up on the spot. It was a long session. It was like 5 hours long, the last session as well. We started like at 8:30. We ended up like at 1:30 a.m. Is that 5 hours? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Yeah, it's like around 5 hours. They decide to hit the bank, and they're like, how are we gonna hit the bank? Because they're not letting us through the front door, so let's make a back door. Tell them there's no back door, there's a wall. They find a structural weakness in the wall. They shoot at the wall. There were a couple of guards back there, but they took them out quickly. I rolled a percentage chance to see how close to the vault they were, and they rolled really good for that. So and luck was on their side. So they opened the wall that was right behind the vault. Take into consideration, these cities they're developed, but they're not that developed. Maybe the wall behind it is steel, but it's like a thin sheet of steel. So an explosion from a hammer's cannon, it's gonna make a huge hole in the back. So they're there at the boulder. They start stealing deposit boxes. A couple of people from the bank start shooting at them with shotguns and heavy pistols. They shoot at them back. They kill a lot of them. The police start chasing them. I have them like roll some speed checks to see if they get far away. The cops rolled snake eyes, 2 ones. They rolled really well. They decide while they're running through the warehouse district, they stop at their warehouse quickly and they toss one of their lock boxes, and they head back to their hideout through the slums. Then they did something really smart. They decided to take a breather for a couple of days. They took like 2 days not to do anything, just to make sure to throw off the police off their tail. So that was really smart on their behalf, because if not, things would have gotten really bad for them. They opened the deposit boxes. They get a lot of loot. I give them like, they made like around 400 gold pieces last session. See, that I have a drinking problem. That's why I'm sick. I have a drinking problem. Jesus. No, that's another thing I'm trying to do. I'm rambling a lot in this video, but again, I'm sick, and I really gotta record the parts for Kaifel for the Buffy video, because I just want to finish that. But I realized something I want to do in my videos, like a lot of reviewers have their own reviewing style, like their personality and the way they handle comedy. Like for example, Dog Walker, Nostalgia Critic, he's a huge fan of the Looney Tunes. So a lot of his things, he likes Daffy Duck a lot, so he tries to model his comedy in that sense of Looney Tunes and zany things like that. But I realized what I like is absurd comedy, like the ones found in absurd and slapstick. But for slapstick you need a lot of props, and I don't. But I do like absurd comedy, like Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, the Naked Gun series, Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's all absurd comedy, because it's just nonsensical comedy that doesn't make sense, but it's still funny. I want to, I don't know how, but I want to do something like that in my videos from now on. This video is actually gonna be really short, so that's the first. But I'm gonna find a way to actually do that in my videos and my reviews. That's what I want to convey in my reviews, even if people don't understand it. But it's the type of comedy I really like. So a couple of days later, they decide to go head to their warehouse to check on the last lockbox. When they get there, all the people that tend to protect the lockbox, the warehouse, are dead, and they're like, crud. the warehouse is closed, and they start getting near it, and in front of them, apparently from the top of the warehouse, he jumped down, Gil Goldenrod, and he's all like beaten up and all scratched up, and he's like, "Oh, return everything you stole from me." He didn't know that they already fenced everything. They kept a couple of things for themselves, but you know, he doesn't know that they basically fenced everything else. They actually got a couple of houses because they had, one of the lock boxes had a couple of deeds, so those buildings belong to them now. That actually made them really happy. And a crime organization with a lot of new houses was not to love. But then, what the interesting thing that happened was they're like, "Oh no, yeah, let me take you inside and we'll give you everything." But he has truth reader as well, so he knows they're bullcrapping him, and they're like, "Don't lie to me, just give me everything." And then another Gil Goldenrod jumps next to him and starts talking in unison with him. "Give me back my stuff." They're like, "Okay." And then another Gil Goldenrod jumps next to that one, and again they talk in unison. "Give me back my stuff." And they're like start backing away, but then when they turn around, they hear a lot of people falling from the sky, and apparently like 7 other Gil Goldenrods fell from the top of the warehouse and jumped down behind them, and again all 10 of them in unison, "Give me back my stuff." So at this point they're freaking out. There are around 30 Gil Goldenrods all around them. They roll initiative. It was a very, 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 very tough fight, but the players played it really, really well. This boss had 14 defense and 15 armor. But for every point of damage that they dealt, 1 Gil Goldenrod would die. So the swarm basically had around 30 hit points in total. And you might be thinking, "Whoa, dude, 30 hit points in Iron Kingdoms?" They tend to deal around 6 to 8 points of damage per turn on regular. Sometimes they deal less, but on regular, it's around 6 points, 5 to 6 points of damage. And they did. They start cleaning them out really quickly. This guy, Coxwood's player, did something really smart. Started shooting at the original Gil Goldenrod that they were able to detect him from among the crowd. But it would take him a -2 penalty because he needed to call a shot at him. And they're like, okay. But he actually did shoot him various times and dealt 7 points of damage in total before the dwarf fell and almost died. He was unconscious and he was bleeding out. And Sterling only had 7 turns to kill the rest of the... kill the gills, and stabilize her friend. Once all the Gil clones were on the floor, the original Gil went up to her, and while he was walking up to her, pulled a handful of red mist and just sniffed it on the spot. Something that me and the player that plays Coxwood, we both like villains that, you know, like these old classic 80s villains that just snort crack in front of people. That was like sort of what I was going for. It's like just snorts the crack and he's just gonna go fight them. But you know, now he's under the influence of red mist, so he's stronger now, and also a cannibal. But they start fighting. He punches Sterling so hard that he depletes her whole shield. He dealt like 22 points of damage in one blow. He rolled really well for that one. But he dealt like 22 points of damage. She was like, crap. But she was able to defeat him. That guy, however, he had 12 defense and only 13 points of armor, so he was a lot more doable. Also, he only had 10 hit points, and not Sterling. Coxwood already had taken away 7 of his 10 hit points, so he was also taking a couple of penalties on top of that. So she killed him. She defeated him. He wasn't dead. She stabilized the dwarf, and as Gil Goldenrod was gonna have his, you know, his final say, the dwarf just tells me, "No, I shoot him." I'm like, "You sure?" "Yeah, I shoot him." I'm like, "Okay." Little do they know, I was gonna give them. Gil was gonna give them, even if he died. He didn't care at that point. Like, his thought was, the 4 horsemen cut me off, so screw these guys now. I want to take my revenge, but if, on these guys, on Sterling and Coxu. But if I can't take my revenge, screw it. I'm gonna tell them everything so they can screw them back. I'm gonna tell Coxu and Sterling everything so they can screw the horsemen back. So that was his mentality before he died. And he was gonna tell them the weakness of the fourth horseman and who the fourth horseman was, because they don't know who the fourth horseman is. They don't even have a name or what his trait is. But he was actually gonna give him a heads up of something that the fourth horseman doesn't really like. The only thing they have, the only like clue they have going is that Cupid the informant told him that he thinks the fourth horseman is a woman, because he overheard a woman telling Gil that if he screwed up one more time he was gonna get caught off. But then on their way back to base, the dwarf was limping, he was almost dead. But on their way back to base, Sterling notices further away from them, but still in the little bit outside of the warehouse area, she sees a black carriage, nondescript black carriage. And from the forest, she sees Adamant walking out. And he stares at her directly and then walks into the carriage, and the carriage goes away. And then she's like, crap, I really think this guy is the fourth horseman. So, you know, there's a lot going behind the scenes that they don't know what's happening. But they decide, after 7 weeks, of course, because it took the dwarf 7 weeks to recover from that fight. So again, he almost died. The thing that surprised me is that they didn't take Hammer with them. I'm surprised they don't take Hammer everywhere they go, because why not? Already told the player that it takes a Hammer 1 pound of coal. 1 pound of coal per day to function, which is doable with their resources. But I am surprised that they didn't take a Hammer with them. If they would have taken Hammer with them, the fight would have been a lot would have run a lot smoother as well. So after 7 weeks pass, they decide to pay the Adamants a visit, because they want to talk to Adamant Senior. But when they get there, they notice and they see Adamant playing with his brother Adamant Jr. And they notice that, you know, he's playing with him. And they see him as he used to be, just long, flowy, thick, golden hair. And then Sterling's like, wait, how long has he been in war? Because when he left, he had a buzz cut. And I told her, well, it's been around 2 months, 2 months and a half. Give or take 2 months and a half since he went to war. And she's like, wait, he returned. He didn't send me a message. He didn't come for me. And his hair is long already? That long? No. You don't grow hair back that fast. So they're confused about what's happening. I stopped the session right there. Again, I'm surprised that this video went for this short. It's still over 20 minutes long. It's a fly. It's still over 20 minutes. Actually, a mosquito. It's rambling. The video is still over 20 minutes long, so whatever. We are nearing the climax of the campaign. I'm very happy. I'm very happy that the players are enjoying themselves. I'm really happy that I was able to run the session as well as I did after everything, how bad I'm feeling. So I'm really freaking sleepy right now. Went to sleep like at 3 a.m. even though the game ended at 1:30. Oh man. And my voice is not helping me a lot. So yeah, next session, Pirates. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking the video, and thanks for subscribing. Remember to share so ARMR Studios can grow even more with your help. And guys, remember, rule number 1, always have fun.